you're never too old, and it's never too late to kind of get your second act together. But we don't bring your first act bullshit with you,
Right.
right? Your
Right.
stories and your limiting beliefs and your trauma and your all of that. Because otherwise you're just recreating the same thing,
Yep.
right? So it's like that, and it's all comes from this, like, an underact, right? Awakening, connection, and transformation, the ACT. So it really is that kind of idea that, like, you know, go through that midlife awakening, we call it, right? It's like, it's not a midlife crisis, it's kind of like a midlife awakening. It's like, who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And then we kind of get these dreams, and then we get stuck,
Yep.
right? Because we're stuck in our, I'm too old, or I don't have the money, or I got to go back to school, or I don't have the degree, or I don't have the resources, or I got to keep my job with the benefits, like, right? All the stories. And it's like, you are the power, you are the creator, right? You're the creator of your life, and you're the creator of everything. So kind of tapping into that divine source, but you can't see it if you're blocked with unworthiness and shame and I'm not something enough,
Yep.
right?
All this baggage that we bring with
Oh
us.
yeah, we're bag ladies, right? The backpack of shame, the pocketbook of guilt, and the duffel bag full of unworthiness,
Oh, I love the bag ladies of shame. I love that. I hadn't heard
right?
anything like that.
It's like, drop the bags, come on.
Awesome. All right. So with me today is Coach Judy. Judy Pro. Oh God, I knew I was going to do this. I even practiced it, Judy. But Judy Prokopiak.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Okay. Is a speaker, teacher, best-selling author, master life reinvention coach, and spiritual practitioner. She's a wife, a mom, a nurse, a leader, mentor, and coach. But actually, my favorite, and she didn't even list this, is that she's a swimmer. We have this swimming connection. So it was really great when I got to connect with Judy. And so let me just finish up the official stuff. She's a high performing overachiever. But what we're going to dive in a little bit on today is that she overcame decades of disordered eating, drinking, and thinking, and overcame decades of those stories of self judgment, perfectionism, shame, and unworthiness. And so, Coach Judy now helps women get their second act together and find peace and purpose through spiritual awakening, connecting to their true self, and transforming trauma into triumph. So, welcome, Coach Judy.
Woo.
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's why people call me Coach Judy. They're like, Coach Prokopiak was a little much when I was a swim coach.
Well, and I love, because we both have that swimming background, I love the fact that you even were coaching and swimming, and that it just carried over and you started broadening your definition of coach and where you were going. So this is
Exactly.
fantastic. So,
Great.
all right. So Judy also joins me from Florida, which is again where I spent time growing up. And so we've got other connections. And now she's got family out in Colorado. So we can't wait actually to do more work together. But I want Judy to share a little bit more about how she got to this stage and what actually made her turn and pivot her life from nursing career, swimming coach, into this world in which she's really helping others and other women in our stage of life. So, all right, Judy, give it to me. What's going on? How'd you get here?
Okay, that is a loaded question, right?
Yes, it is.
So challenging to sort of put it out there, but the bottom line is, I can condense it pretty quickly. But I was, like you said, a swimmer growing up. I was on my way to the 1980 Olympics. I was literally the second fastest 200 freestyler in the country. And then a series of drama and trauma. My parents were going through a divorce that they ended up not getting divorced, but bankruptcy. I met my biological father for the first time. Eating disorder, all kinds of things just happening all at once, right? As a 16-year-old girl, and we decided to boycott the Olympics as a
Yes,
country.
and that was a big deal.
It's a big deal. And so the truth is that was my only dream, right? It's like, I'm just going to the 1980 Olympics. And honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen after the fact, like I really didn't have a vision of like getting married and having kids and becoming anything. I was just like, I'm going, like, that was my focus. I'm going to the 1980 Olympics. And then I guess I was going to be dead. I don't know, but like that was it. And so when all of that started happening, and then, I started developing this idea that like when I met my biological father, and I like, he told me all the things I wanted to hear, and then he never called. So I went into a whole unworthiness spiral of like, oh wow, like I'm this great athlete and I think I'm a good girl and I'm a nice person and I make good grades, and yet like, oh, he didn't want me, right? I must not be lovable enough. I'm not something enough. So, and I had a very narcissistic stepfather, so that wasn't helpful either, right? My mom had bipolar. So just, I just thought it was normal because I didn't have any brothers or sisters. I was like, I don't know, this is my life, right?
Right.
But so all of that, and then the real clincher was that because I said that we were having financial problems and all that. So my senior year in high school, my parents were like, you need to take a swimming scholarship. I was like, I don't want to take a shower. I definitely don't want to go swim somewhere. But, they were like, well, we've invested so much money in different things. So off I went to college, self-fulfilling prophecy, failed out, more shame, more unworthiness, right? Now I'm in my own, right? We're the creators of it. I didn't know this then, but I created my reality and my belief systems, right? And then, kind of what happened was I came back home and just tried to get myself together, but it was a struggle. But met my husband, had kids, got married, blah, 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 all the things, right? Went back to nursing school, graduated with honors. Like somehow I tried to, but it was a lot of validating energy, right?
Right.
Like I'm not enough, so I'm gonna do. I'm a human doing, not a human being. And I think a lot of women can relate to that, right?
Absolutely.
We just become doing, we're doing for everybody, and we're not even taking care of ourselves at all. So that sort of was about 35 years of this kind of like, I got over the eating disorder, but like I said, then I had like disordered eating, right? Diet mentality, diet culture, points and carbs and counting whatever, and Weight Watchers and all the things that we did, and so then I had this sort of disordered thinking where I'm a good woman doing good work in the world. No, you're not, right? I'm a good woman I'm a good nurse. Oh wait, no, you're not. Like, right, it's like all of that going on, right? And then, really for about 35 years, so I was about 45, 50, I was like, I felt like I was fine, but inside, like right outside, I looked like I had it kind of together, but inside I was like anxiety and perfectionism and procrastination and just overwhelm and imposter syndrome, that like I didn't have names for all of that. I was just like, in feeling all of this stuff and not knowing how to process my feelings, so numbing out, right? And I'm just going to numb out, overworking, right? All the overs, overthinking, over drinking, overeating, overworking, over volunteering, over over shopping, overspending.
Yeah.
Right?
All the overs.
All the overs, right? And so, and then in 2005, my mom died suddenly she went in for a lung biopsy, and then she ended up on a ventilator and really died in 2 weeks. And that really kind of hit me. My son was in the military. We were, just after 9/11. My daughter was graduating high school. At this point, I had kind of taken a sabbatical from nursing, and I kind of fell into swim coaching. And so I was like, okay, nobody's dying in the swim team. Like it's different than working in an ICU.
Lower pressure, much lower.
Lower pressure, right? And so, I wasn't even kind of working the same shift as my husband, and it was just like this time, and I just felt really sad and lonely and depressed, and and I couldn't sleep at night, so I started drinking the wine, right? Have a glass of wine, another glass of wine, and then there's a bottle, and there's 2 bottles, And so, that went on for a few years. And then I developed, I had some surgery, and then I developed autoimmune disease, like autoimmune colitis and leaky gut, and just allergic to the whole world. I was allergic to myself. Like, apparently I'm allergic to myself. I don't know what this is about. And then, this is like 2008, 2009. And I really just went on a mission to like clean up my act, right? I was like, I eliminated everything, gluten, wheat, corn, soy, dairy, alcohol, sugar, white food, whatever. And just sort of, And then I got into my mindset work and some, energy healing and just sort of like meditation, but I wasn't very good at it. I was really bad at it, but I tried, right? I just tried all the things, right? And so in a year, I healed myself of the leaky. I went back for a colonoscopy. They were like, wow, what the heck did you do? Right. And I was like, this and, nutrition and all the things. And being a nurse for 25 years, I was a diabetes educator for many years.
I just understood the physiology of it all.
Right. So I really just made I was really, really sick. And like, I think that I would have been on disability if I had had a regular job. Like, that's how sick I was. I probably would have gone that route. Right. But I didn't want to claim that. Like, right. I decided to claim my health. I decided to use my mind. I decided to figure it out. I'm a nurse. I'm going to figure out what's going on with me because no doctors knew. And that was just kind of the journey. Right. And then I had to move through grief and keep moving through the grief. And it was interesting because I was running grief support groups before my mom died.
Oh.
And so I was like, I'm good. I got this.
I got the grief covered. Right.
I got the grief covered.
Check.
I was buried with all the other stuff.
Right. I know. Right.
You know? And so of course, then all of that brought all of that up and having to kind of work on that. And really what happened was I had to quit swim coaching because I developed the same scarring of the lungs that my mom had, this autoimmune pulmonary fibrosis. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing that. So I left the swim team and then I was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Go back to nursing? Like what? And then all of this health coaching thing started coming, right? I was like, oh, I healed myself. I'm a nurse.
Right.
I've been a coach. Like, what? This would be good.
Right. It puts
no idea what I was getting into.
Right.
Right. It made sense on paper.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I have no idea how to run a business. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yep.
And this was around 2013, 14. So I became a certified health coach. And then in 2015, I went to a workshop to learn how to run a health coaching business, right? It's for health coaches. Like you can become a health coach, but also it's more about the business. I'm like, I need that.
Right.
I manifested a move to Florida finally after 30 years, that pool out there. I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm onto something.
Yep.
And at that retreat, there was a lot of beautiful speakers, and Chris Carr was there, and Gabby Bernstein was there, and literally there were like 35 of us. It was a very small, intimate thing, and there was some hypnotherapy that was happening. The next morning, literally at 6 a.m., my mom had been gone 10 years now, and she literally came to me and she was like, wake up, wake up, wake up, Judy, you have work to do. It's time to wake up. And then she said, make your mess your message. And I just started crying and I was like, which mess? Which message? There's so many.
Wait, which one?
What? And I was like, okay, so the bottom line is that's what I've been doing like for the past, 6 years, unpacking the messes, really diving into the traumas and the wounding and the parental wounding and the rejection stories and the abandonment and the limiting beliefs and awakening to my true to my truth and reconnecting with myself and connecting with just kind of really just doing all of this work and just kind of unpacking, reframing. I like to say it's like the 5 R's, right? It's like reclaiming my health, because still had to keep working on that, right? Rewiring my mind, all of the crappy thoughts, the toxic thoughts that were going on in there, right? We're the inner critic and all that. Reframing my past, right? We can't change what happened, but we can give it new meaning. Reconnecting with myself, my higher self, reconnecting with nature, with other people, all of the things, right? Because, when you're in your story, you create your own little dynamic of stuff going on, and then reimagining the future, right? Because that was really what I did. I was like, well, what do I want, and why do I want it, and who do I want to be, and what do I want to be? But so that was really kind of the journey. And then I was like, well, as I was evolving, I was just helping other people started out as a health coach, helping them with diabetes, whatever. And then I realized, oh, every week you keep coming back with that same story. Like, we need to work on that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
because I'm like, oh yeah, I got the story too. Like, yeah, no, like I get it. So then it was like diving into story shifting and then limiting beliefs and really diving into the spiritual awakening. And I spent many years as a pastoral care nurse in the Episcopal Church as well. Like, I thought I was going to maybe go and become a minister, like a priest, Episcopal priest, because I was very, like I said, I was running this health and healing ministry. I was,
Right.
you know, kind of, I just started out helping our priest because we didn't have an assistant rector. And next thing you know, we have a ministry with 120 volunteers, right?
Yep.
Oh, because I was that person.
Yep. Yep.
Right? And so, but it was a beautiful thing and I don't regret any of it, right? Because it brought me, all of those things brought me to who I am. And that's what I always like to just help women see. It's like all of your stories, all of your experiences, all of your journey, whether you were in corporate or whether you were a stay-at-home mom or whether whatever you're an artist, doesn't matter. Like, all of it has brought you here. But we now have this beautiful gift of awakening in our 45, 50, 55, 60, whatever. And like, you got a lot of life left. Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to create? What do you want to, right? What would make your life remarkable? And then let's go do that. But we got to, create your second act, but you got to get rid of the first act, some of the stuff that you don't want to keep. Like we talked about before, the bag lady, the backpack of shame, the pocketbook of guilt, and the duffel bag of unworthiness.
Yep.
We got to let them go. We got to let them stay in the past, So that's sort of just how I got to where I am now.
So as I've made my way through my own journey, I have encountered so many women like you and me at this stage in our life chapter. And it's fascinating to me how I don't know if we were just blind to it or if it just didn't happen. But I don't think this happened with our parents and our grandparents. And I think it's wonderful. There are pros and cons to everything, right? So there are many more of us at this stage who are either single or have changed in our family relationships or family dynamics. But we have this whole different world open to us that I don't think was there for our parents and grandparents. So
I totally agree with you. We really could look back over millennia and people were just surviving.
They were
just surviving their life, right?
Yep.
And then they were just in all of the dogma and the paradigms. If you just get married, you have kids, you get a house, you get a thing, you stay at your job 50 years and
you
then
get to
die.
watch. Yep, you get to watch at the end.
Yeah, right. And we, with all of this really awakening and sort of knowing other things and knowing like how we can raise our children different and different things, right? But we were sort of raised with, we were raised with those stories, so we kind of have to get over it. People that are in their 35, 40, they've had a whole different experience than us, right? And so I feel like, and you've probably seen it, women that are like 45 plus, it's sort of like, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have anybody sort of, we were just believing everything that whatever anybody told us.
We didn't question it, right? We were all going to have 2.2 children, and we were going to, and the spouse would stay at the corporate job forever. And yes.
And so we didn't have role models really. I mean, most of us didn't have any role models to sort of say, it's what's possible. Mm-hmm. What's possible, right? I mean, we could look out there and be like, oh, her or this, or there were a few people here or there, but you felt like they were just random people, like they were celebrities or they were something like that didn't apply to me.
Right. It didn't connect. Like you didn't identify with it yourself. Right.
Right. And I have to say, my mom was pretty much a Renaissance kind of. She was a single mom for 5 years with me, and she was the first one to put herself through school and got a bachelor's degree. And she would write stories and send them off to Reader's Digest and whatever. And she would do quilts and create and art. And I think she was born. She needed to be born like now. She didn't have. She just didn't have the support she didn't have the support that she needed, right? Now we can have women's groups and communities, and there's amazing books to read. There's YouTube, there's podcasts like yours that are like opening up the eyes to what is possible. And I love what you're doing, because you're just showing other people that, like, wow, you don't have to stay a nurse for 50 years. You could go
Right.
and do something else,
Right.
you
And
know?
so do you often find clients, so I'm going to ask a question in a roundabout way, because again, it's reflective of my experience and what I'm seeing around me. But I still see so many women who want to do more, but then because of the baggage may be stuck and or are afraid to take that step. And a great example for me in this discussion is podcasting. I didn't have any background in radio, TV broadcasting, and I still don't, right? And the Oprah Winfrey channel has not called me up yet to join the network, and that's okay. That's okay. But by but by going forward, learning about it, I have been able to meet so many wonderful women like you that keep opening my eyes to new realities and new possibilities. So do you see more people who come to you because they're ready to go, or that they want to but they still have those limiting beliefs? Tell me a little bit more about what you see more in the women that you're working with.
Yeah, a lot of the women that come to me are tend to be entrepreneurs in some form. They're either a lawyer or they own a business, and they're trying to kind of find the work-life balance is what they're looking for, which doesn't exist, but they're kind of trying to find that. I tend to get, actually, my niche is older women, but I tend to get a lot of these, in their, like, around 40, right? And they're trying to just kind of figure it out, but they realize that, like, oh wait, I'm kind of really stuck in some old stuff that I want to lose weight, but I'm self-sabotaging. I feel guilty when I'm at work, and I feel guilty when I'm with my kids. I feel like, right, it's kind of like they're just in all of this chaos because they really haven't tapped into the power that they have in their mind and their beliefs and their subconscious and all the things, right? And so, but I feel like a lot of women are in that place where they want to they start doing something, right? They kind of, I want to start a nonprofit. But they don't follow through really,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then they kind of get stuck, right? I want to do a podcast, but then they don't do
Right.
it. Or they become a coach. I work with a lot of coaches. They become a coach, and then they don't, like me. I was like, I don't know how to do this.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know how to coach people. I don't know how to do any of the other stuff.
Right. All the
Right?
spiritual.
Like, you're like, I know how to talk to people. I don't know how to do a podcast.
Right.
And I think what happens is then they get stuck, and then we start judging ourselves. It's
Yes.
me, what's wrong with me? I'm not smart enough, right? And then we get stuck in the judgment, and that doesn't serve us, because then we really aren't going to take the action, because now we're right. And then we have shame because we're like, I said I was going to do this thing, and now I'm not doing it,
Right. Right.
right? And so that is the spiral that I feel like we women get stuck in, because it's like, I have to do it myself.
Yep.
I got to be strong, independent. I got to do it myself. I can't ask for help, right? And then we end up in the swimming in the misery of this, the
Yep.
positive misery.
Overwhelm and yep. Misery.
Yeah, overwhelm and confusion. And so I think that there's just a lot of different women, like, I think, what is it, Rachel Hollis, or lots of people, right? Just effing do it, right? And I was
Right.
like, well, if I could have just done it, I would have. There was some reason that I was unable to kind of do some of these things, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
because otherwise I would have just done it. And honestly, it's like, you know, when I really like to help people find their purpose and their calling, and a lot of it has to do with our trauma and our journey and our story, right? It's like women who've been through a terrible divorce then often help women, whether you're a coach or not, whether you're just a mentor, whether you're writing a book, whether whatever, right? It's like these hardest things that we've been through. And when I was doing this work, I was like, my mentor was like, what's the hardest thing you've been through? I'm like, this, running a business.
Right.
What about suicidal ideation, eating disorder, lifetime? None of that.
None of that matters. No, 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 no. Just this. Right.
It's hard, right? And
Right.
it's because it's like, starting a business of any kind, like you all of your stuff comes up, right?
Right.
You have to clear out your soul so that you can go live your purpose. And I don't really know if that answered your question, but I do feel like there's some women that are like they have a dream, but they're so stuck that they won't even, like, they're getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready,
Yes. Yes. They're fixing to,
right?
the fixing to, the fixing to.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. So they have this dream, but then they kill it with all of their doubts, right? It's like, oh, I'd love to. Somebody says you should write a book. And then they're in their own, and they never write the book, right?
Right.
And then there's the other ones that kind of get started, and then they get stuck. They're like, well, and then they just keep taking more courses and classes. I need another degree. I need to learn some more. I don't really want to be that now. I want to be that.
Right.
Whatever, right? Oh, maybe I didn't really want that, right? So they're sort of just swirling in something, not really sure what that is, right? Or they hold themselves back because they're like, well, I really want to be with my grandkids, and I don't really want to be success, and I don't need a lot of money, and I don't need, right? They're just in those stories,
Right.
right? And then there's the other ones that are sort of like really like they have a big purpose and a mission and they want to launch, and they're just like they're just stuck at that level. Like, so I think it just depends, like we all just get stuck at whatever level we're stuck at.
Mhm.
And it also is just like, right, I was stuck back there, and then I was here, then I was here,
Right.
right? You just keep going, and then what happens is we compare and despair because we compare ourselves to, I mean, a brand new coach is going to compare themselves to me, and then I'm comparing myself to somebody else, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
it's
As I was writing, when I knew that when I left my corporate role, I knew I wanted to write and wasn't sure what it was going to be yet. And it took me a little bit of time to research and figure out exactly the niche I was going to write in. And I came upon this really great term I'd never heard, procrastinate research. And I'm like, at one point I went, I think I'm in that actually right now because I love reading and learning, and I'm using the guise of, well, I'm researching the focal topic of my book as the reason why I can spend hours and hours reading. And I think I'm in procrastinate research. So yes. And all those things that you spoke to so quickly and eloquently about the fears you have to overcome, and all these social norms we grew up with, right? My parents were really concerned when I left my corporate job that was perfectly fine and perfectly good benefits and pay. Why would you do that, right? And so there were so many times where even though I knew it was the right path and everything, you still would question it and go, oh, I don't know if this is the right, I don't know. Is this the right topic to talk about today? Whatever it is. So I think it's wonderful how you're helping women not only identify this and start to go forward, but how you're also helping them keep going forward, because
yeah.
those things you just don't turn off with a switch, right?
No, because we have these beliefs that we've created, right? These
Right.
commands, and they're in our subconscious. And one of mine was, we talked about this podcast thing because I've been threatening to do a podcast for about 5 years, but I've had like 37 different names,
Right.
right? But and then I've joined programs, like it's really nuts. But what happened was, last year I discovered that I really had a big belief around I don't make good decisions.
Mm.
I had a traumatic, thing in my childhood, and I decided I don't make good decisions, right?
Right.
And so I've known that I've been kind of indecisive over my life, but eventually I make decisions. But then what would happen, because that was my belief, I would make a decision, then I would second guess it.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're not trusting your intuition, right? So it's
Right.
like, right. But when I really worked through that trauma and I was able to bring that belief up and say, oh, well, that's where I created it. And that's not true. I've made lots of good decisions,
Right.
I've made many good decisions, but I was in that story so much, right? It's like the things that come out of our mouth, our language and our things. So So that was really powerful. And then I was able, because then I would judge myself about why I'm not doing the podcast and, all the things. But yeah, we'd come up with a name. Like one of the names was, what would Coach Judy say? Because a lot of my clients would be like, I was going to eat the donut. And then I thought, what would Coach Judy say?
Yeah.
And I loved it. But then I got in my own way because I was like, oh, I don't want anybody to think I'm a guru, that I know everything. Right. So I was like, it's like, okay, can't have that name. And then I'd pick another name. Somebody else would have it. And then I'd pick another name. It's just like, then I was like, but it was also my way. Like it was my way of self-sabotaging.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. But we don't recognize it as that. We're just like, what's wrong with me?
Because we're human doing, as you said. I love that. Human doing, because we're just doing.
I'm doing stuff.
Yes.
I'm just doing.
Exactly.
I don't know how to be. Oh, you'll love this story real quick. So 2001, so like 20 years ago, I went to this retreat to learn how to do pastoral care nursing, congregational nursing. And it was like at the water, at the beach, we were, we were having to do a walking meditation. And at the end of that, I wrote in the sand, don't just do something, sit there. Right? The opposite of don't just sit there, do something.
Right.
And I wrote that and I was in tears and I was like, oh my gosh, like I just need to be. It took me 12 more years before literally I went back from that retreat and like started that ministry and went crazy and all the thing, for another 12 years of just more busyness.
Yeah.
And finally, and yet I had that picture hanging on my bulletin board every day looking at it. I don't need that. I'm good.
Nope, I'm doing it. Yeah.
And so even when we have the best intentions, even when we have the things, it's like we have to really become so conscious of what we're doing and what we're saying and what we're believing about ourselves and really like, what is it that I want? And I think that's the other piece. We don't give ourselves permission to dream, to want, to desire. Oh, I should be grateful for what I have.
Yep.
I should be grateful for my job. I should just settle. Right?
Yeah.
The settlers went out west, like in the 1800s. We're not settling anymore.
I like that. They did. Well, just a settler. Well, I think that is the hardest question to answer is what do you want?
What do you want?
It's
so true. Yeah.
It's
and I think the main thing is to just, when those little desires come up, right? They're little, you're like, oh, I would love, like you see a food truck and you think, oh, I would love a food truck.
Yeah.
And then you kill it with, how would I have a food truck? I don't know how to think, right? Or it's like, I would love a podcast, right? And then I just killed it with all the how and the what and the names and the things.
Right.
And so we kill the desire, but then it keeps coming back up, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that you wanted a food truck. What I encourage my clients to look at is, what is it about the food truck that is speaking to you?
Yep.
And they're like, oh, I just love cooking and I would love to just serve food and blah, blah, blah. And I would love the freedom of that. Okay, well, let's create some of that now.
Right.
Right. And then it, like, it's like taking some action steps. And then you find out what you do like. You're like, oh yeah, no, I don't like that. I like that. No, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I'm going to love paddleboarding. And my husband's like, you've never been on one. I'm like, it's going to be my jam. I know it. And I got on a paddleboard and I was like, this is my thing. He's like, you're right. You do love it, but I had to take the action. I had to decide, like, right. But the part of me, the higher self of me knew, right. But if I would have gotten, I'm not the right size to be on a paddleboard or be in a bathing suit or
whatever.
All the things, right? But instead, I just kept following that thing. And, now I'm going to be certified as a paddleboard instructor because I want to do retreats with women, amazing like you. And I'm calling it Come to the Water and Leave with Your Truth because it's like,
oh, I love
that. Right? So it's like, but you have to just start following the breadcrumbs a little bit and just say, oh, what would I love?
Yeah.
Right? It's I think it's like not what do I want? Because we don't feel like we can want. We were taught, well, do you need that? Do you need some new shoes? Do you really?
Right.
My stepfather, how many bathing suits and goggles do you need?
Exactly.
A lot.
A lot.
So we were just taught, do you need that? Do you need to have water right now? Like you need, you know, do you need toilet paper? Really?
Really? Right.
Right. And
That's
so we were taught that unless you you weren't allowed to want, and we have to really have compassion on everybody in the past. There was no room for wanting. There was just surviving. There was just what meet your needs.
yeah.
They didn't know this consciousness that we know now. They didn't know.
Right.
They didn't
It was
know
no
any.
malintent. Agree. Right.
Right. And so we can have compassion on them, but that's what we can be like. And that's why I love the idea. What would I love? And at
Yeah.
least give yourself permission to start dreaming. What would I love? What would I love? Right. And then say, like, just because you know what? It feels good to say, I would love to have a paddleboard. I would love to have a pool in my back. I would love to live in Florida. I would love, right? I would love to go whatever you're going to do in the Grand Canyon, right? I would love that. And not kill it right away with the
But
how,
right. Or the
the
but.
but, or the buzz,
Yeah.
right? But I can't afford that. I would love to go back to nursing school, but I would love to whatever, right?
Right.
And it's just opens up like that permission to start dreaming. Just start there.
Yeah.
Like give yourself that doesn't cost anything and it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Right. But what happens is also, right, we start dreaming about it and then we don't see how it's ever going to work out. And then we get sad. So we decide it's better to not dream at all.
And then I have the glass of wine or the cookies or whatever. And then the other cycle continues, right?
And then you're stuck back where you started. And you're like, oh, I really encourage people to just at least dream. What would you love?
Yeah.
Because this is the only, it's not a dress rehearsal. You know what? At this point, you get one life. I mean, we're consciousness. We're going to live forever. Yeah, all of that. But in this physical meat suit, this is the one experience that we're having in this lifetime. So, what would you love? And it goes back to what I said before about this. What would I want to get to the end of my life and remark on my own life, right? I want to say what would make my life remarkable? It was remarkable what I overcame. It was remarkable what I created. It was remarkable who I loved and who loved me. It was remarkable the difference that I made, the impact. It was remarkable what I created, right? And when you can kind of go for, that's like a life beyond regrets, right? It's remarkable. And I just need to remark on my own life. I want to look back and go, you know what? I tried lots of things. I did lots of things. And you know what? I tried to start a podcast 37 times, but I didn't quit because you're going to help me figure that out.
Absolutely.
And right. And so it's I just want people to create their own remarkable life and can kind of reverse engineer it there. What would make your life remarkable? Do you want to live on a farm with 97 goats and do goat yoga? Okay, let's create that. Yeah. Right. Do you want to go live in Colorado and hike and do podcasts and meet amazing women? Awesome. You're doing it. Right. And what's next? What else would be amazing? What else would you love? Right. Maybe somebody wants to live on Broadway and do play. So that's the beauty of it. Right. It's it sort of takes away all of that thing of what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Because, oh my gosh, I was there. You were probably there. What's my purpose? Is this my purpose? I was just looking for peace and purpose, and all I found was Pinot Grigio.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's the title for one of the books for sure, right? I'm I was looking for my peace. I was looking for purpose all out there. And
all I got was my Pinot.
Yeah, forget it.
Forget it. Oh, God. Oh, okay. So that's a perfect segue, Judy.
Now we have to regroup after that.
No, that's a perfect segue, actually. We don't even have to regroup. It's a perfect segue. So now, because I love to end on something fun, and because I am a firm believer, like you are, that we can reimagine what we have next, right? And so the group of women I work with, thankfully, I don't dive as deep into the spiritual and uncovering your purpose. I leave that to an expert like you. And I'm going to call you an expert. I'm going to do it. I can do it.
Well, that's why we're going to work together, because we're going to,
Exactly.
I can do the deep. I'm going to go scuba diving with them in the deep wounds.
Good. Yep. And then when they come up and they feel so much better and they're ready to play, I'm all in, and I'll take them on that next adventure. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep. And so, okay, so let's talk about either something you're going to go after as part of your next. So you either get to answer that, like, what are you going after? Something creatively, something actively, or travel, or what do you think something should be on everybody else's list to go after? Something that you went, oh my God, if everyone could just do this. So what would you recommend?
I think everyone should get on a paddleboard.
Okay. And I'm ready actually to come join you because I love paddleboarding, and I'm sure I could get some pointers from you. But
Yeah, so I do think
those
that
who don't know, right? Like I've got some folks who are either mountain kids or I've got city dwellers. So help me share, what do you love about it and what would they get out of it?
yeah, so what I love is that there's a feeling of freedom, when you're out on the water and you're disconnected from your phone, and I mean, yes, you can bring your phone out there and take pictures or whatever, but you're really just in the water, one with whether you're in the ocean or a lake or a creek or whatever, right? You're paddling, and you kind of have to really be present because you're navigating yourself on the water, but and so whether you're with people or not with people, it's still this experience of like connecting to nature, connecting to yourself, connecting to divine, whatever that looks like, God, source, whatever you want to call it, universe, right? You are like one with everything. And maybe there's some dolphins that come by, or some stingrays, or you might be in the mangroves and see manatees, or you're just looking at the trees and the sun, and like it's just a full experience of and you're using your body, right? So it really is a mind, body, spirit experience. And, when people can sort of get over their fear of, I'm going to fall in. Yes, you're going to fall in.
Yeah. Okay. It's water. It's
It's
okay.
water. It's
It's
okay,
water.
right? And
there's this big board there you can hang on to. Right?
yeah, right. And it's there's actually some really cool new paddle boards that are almost like catamaran-y. So like anybody could get on there. So I'm sure at some point, the people that, I just feel like it's such a beautiful experience to, so many people kind of, they see people paddleboarding, like when I'm out paddleboarding, and then I come in and, I'm at the beach and people are like, oh, that looks so fun. Is it hard? Is it like, they're very curious and they want to try it, and they want to, like, there's something of like, it looks freeing, right?
Right.
And so I want to be able to give that experience, or just have people experience that. That's why I feel like if you can go somewhere, and even if it's in a pool, and try it within where there's like, whatever, like try paddleboarding. So
Yeah. And anybody can do it.
anybody can do it.
Yep.
You can even just sit on the paddleboard. And if you can't, you know what, get in a kayak. Just get out on the water. There's really something, and this too, then something about being on the water that you're just free. You're just like, you're floating. I mean, that's why most people like to be in the water. They like to be in the ocean. The smells, the scent, the energetic ions that coming in, right? That's why people love after a rainstorm. They're like, oh, that's so like, right? It's like we are so much water, and I think that we need to do that. So that's what I would say.
Perfect. And it's reconnecting with nature, which again, you're unplugged from everything else, and that's where I feel closest to God, actually, is in nature.
In nature. And I believe that everybody does, and we've just not allowed ourselves to tap into that, right? I don't have time for that. Everybody feels good when they've been on a bike ride, when they've been to the beach, when they've been for a walk in the woods, when they see some flowers. But you got to get present, right? You got to decide to notice and be there, not the human doing, the human being.
Right. Oh, perfect. Well, Judy, thank you so much for joining me today, and for sharing your wisdom, because I cannot wait until we get together and I get to paddleboard with you, and we're creating some excursions together. And like you said, you get to handle the deep stuff, and I get to handle the fun stuff after.
I love it. It's going to be perfect.
It is.
It's done. It's done in divine mind.
Yep.
We just haven't created it yet. So it's all good.
It's all good. Yep.
You are amazing. I love your laughter. I love your spirit. I love your your enthusiasm. And yes, getting women out into nature and having fun, right? Just
Yes.
being permission to have fun.
Permission to have fun. Yes. Don't
Right?
plan it in 8 months. Do it now.
Do it.
For God's sakes. Perfect.
Oh,
All right. Thank you so much, Judy, for being here. And thanks
you're
everyone
welcome.
for listening and tuning in. And we will check in with you again very soon.
Yes, we will.